morning, warriors. How are you? It's good to be back at morning time. Please join me in the pledge to the Bible. I pledge allegiance to the Bible, God's holy word. I will make it a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. I will hide its words in my heart, that I might not sin against God. Please join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I want to thank Mrs. Blackshear for doing such a great job for last week. And unfortunately, you're back to boring old me, so I know Mrs. Blackshear is way more exciting. Third grade's going to have an exciting day. You bring me back to Nebraska, like back on the prairie, so I'm feeling back at home. So you can make a little sod hut or something for me to hang out in. So you'll have a great day, great weather for it. We've been working through the problem of sin in our catechism, and we're going to learn some new parts to our question and answer. Remember, catechism just means to teach. It's through a question and answer format. It's a way that we learn. It's a good summary of God's word. It doesn't replace God's word, but it summarizes God's word in a way that we can learn it and helps us understand it better. So we've talked about sin. It's a lack of conformity. It's a transgression of the law. And all sins deserves the wrath and curse of God. So next question is, what was that sin? What was the sin of our first parents? And the answer is eating the forbidden fruit. So repeat after me. Eating the forbidden fruit. Let's put it together. What was the sin of our first parents? Eating. And then the next one is, so who did it? Who tempted Adam and Eve to this sin? And the answer is Satan tempted Eve first, and then he used her to tempt Adam. So repeat after me. Satan tempted Eve first. And then he used her to tempt Adam. Let's put it all together. I'll say it first and repeat after me. Satan tempted Eve first, and then he used her to tempt Adam. Your turn. Satan tempted Eve first, and then he used her. So we're going about the original sin and what that meant for all of mankind. This week we've been talking about virtue, and virtue is anything that any quality that we try to go to a fine point of excellence. So virtue can be obedience, it can be wisdom. Last week you talked about openness. This week the virtue we're going to talk about is curiosity. How many of you have traveled and seen mountains before? Good. How many of you have seen an ocean? Hope that's everybody. In Nebraska, that wouldn't be everybody's hands, but here it would be. When you've traveled, if you've seen an ocean or if you've seen mountains, you've seen something that's pretty awesome. Something that should have inspired awe and wonder in you. One of the most beautiful places that I've been to is I went to Montana to Glacier National Park. And it's right on the Rocky Mountains runs right through there. There's huge glacier lakes. The water actually turns this like really interesting green and blue just because of the glacier melt and just the minerals that are in there. It's just a really beautiful place, and when I was there, the weather was gorgeous. When I hiked up to the top of that mountain, we spent the night there. Since there's no city lights, you look up and you can see every single star, and plus being on top of a mountain, you're even closer to them, so you feel like just part of this amazing, wonderful place. God uses those things in our life to inspire awe and wonder. And there's a reason for that, because he wants you to be curious about him and his creation. If he didn't think that that was important, everybody would be kind of gray and bland, and there would be nothing really interesting. But he purposely did things all throughout the world, and even here on campus with the books that you read, things that are meant to inspire you, to make you look to things in a way that causes you to wonder and to be amazed. All of those things are on purpose by God. But here's the danger with it. He didn't mean for us to worship those things. So I could look at the beautiful mountains and the wonderful stars and just the dark sky in contrast and think, this is all there is, and to be worshipful of that. But all those things point to something greater. What do all those things point to? When I see a mountain, when I see a beautiful sunset at the ocean, what are those things pointing me to? Liam? Yeah, to God, who's the creator of all of that. So they're meant to be like a finger pointing up, like look here, look here. So when we see those things, when you read beautiful literature and you get inspired by the works of art that you see in art class, all those things are pointing like, look up here. This is who God is. They're all meant for you to inspire curiosity, to want to know more, and more of your Creator. So a virtue that we want all students to have is to be curious, is when you open a great book, or you see a beautiful painting, or you hear something in science that's amazing, all those things are meant to spark ideas in your mind, to think greater thoughts of God. So when the teachers ask you to do the hard work here at school, they're also wanting to inspire and open your mind, and we want you to ask the questions and to be curious about those things. We'll talk more this week about what curiosity looks like, but first, it's to inspire awe and wonder so you can look to the Creator and know Him more. Speaking of knowing Him more, we're singing our hymn, so please join in song. Virtue of curiosity, the one thing we should never get satisfied with our knowledge of is about Jesus. We all should be more and more curious about Him and knowing Him more. Let's go through a couple of things just to remind us about how to make school a better place. God is opposed to the proud. Those who are faithful with little. He who hates correction. The bigger they are. So let's slay some giants today and slay some dragons. Lord be with you.
You shall go out.